Okay guys, before we start the video, I know y'all are probably tired of hearing it, but if y'all want to join a group chat with me and the other listeners of the show, make sure you go down to the description below. Completely free group chat. I think we have closing in on 70 people. And this is why I keep on talking about it. Every time I bring it up, we get about 10 new people. We have like closing in on 1,500 subscribers to the channel right now. No reason why we shouldn't have 200 people at least in that group chat. I mean, I think it's just a great way to get better at Dynasty football. It's kind of like, I mean, if you've ever played poker, you know everyone gets in a poker form, goes over their own poker hands, and gets better and learns new opinions. It's the same exact thing. It's a new perspective. So make sure you go down, join the link below, join the community, and if you have not already, subscribe to the channel. But I'm tired with that. Let's just get into the video, and I'm going to be talking about Miles Sanders versus Josh Jacobs. Now, this is a conversation that I think we're going to be having throughout the offseason. I've already kind of heard people talk, like dance around the subject in other podcasts. I haven't heard anyone go in depth with comparing these two players. And these are two players that are going to go hand in hand for, I think, the foreseeable future. I mean, it's just because they came in the same rookie class. They were both in the same tier. I know a lot of people had David Montgomery in that tier, but if you had been watching the channel, you knew that I hated David Montgomery last offseason. I wasn't drafting him anywhere. I got a lot wrong last offseason, but the one thing I got right was having Miles Sanders and Josh Jacobs far ahead of David Montgomery. So we're not even going to bring him up in any more than we already have. And let's just go through these running backs. I'm going to talk about Miles Sanders first, then I'll get into Josh Jacobs. Then afterwards, I'll kind of just put a final stamp on where I think their value should be and what a list of running backs that I'm taking them ahead of that I could see other players in your league overvaluing. So first, let's get into Miles Sanders. And y'all know that if y'all watch the channel long enough, he was my running back one before the NFL draft last year. And honestly, I don't want to gloat in this video. Y'all know I make fun of myself all the time. I'm the guy who said he would never draft Chris Godwin when Chris Godwin was going in the 5th round of startups last offseason. But I smashed Miles Sanders. My take on him was so accurate before really anyone was talking about him, even as a top 5 running back. I identified him and put him as my running back one. And let me just brush up on why I had him as my running back one pre-draft last year, and that's because he was a 5-star recruit going into Penn State. He was the #1 rated running back in the nation, and he just goes and he kind of just takes the backup job behind Saquon Barkley, which, I mean, I don't know about you, but I think Saquon Barkley is a very good running back, so I'm kind of going to give him the pass on not being able to take that starting job from him. But anyway, as soon as Saquon Barkley leaves, declares for the NFL draft, Miles Sanders assumes that #1 running back role in Penn State, and he just really flashes and shows that he has the capability and he has the ceiling because of his athleticism. He's just an extremely athletic running back. He has everything but the size, and that's the one thing that I think will hold him back from ever being like a top 5 startup player in a draft, is just because, I mean, his BMI is in the 35th percentile. His weight isn't necessarily that bad. It's just kind of, he's taller. He's a little thin compared to how we want our workhorse running backs. But, I mean, we just saw him go down the field and command a serious workload in 2019. So it's a concern, but it's not the end of the world. I think we can somewhat overlook it and just have it in the back of our mind. And that's really it. I mean, we're not concerned about injuries. He has no other red flags on his profile. And what's great about him is not only is he only 22 years old, but he has not commanded that many touches in his career, even going back to Penn State, just like what I said. I mean, he's kind of like Alvin Kamara in the sense where he didn't have the workload in college just because he was behind Saquon Barkley. So his body should be very fresh, and I think that's why we saw him avoid any significant injuries his rookie year. And I think we should expect the same going into year 2. But let's kind of talk about how his rookie year went. And I mean, he was slow to start off. We all know the story. Jordan Howard was the starter at the beginning of the season. He was taking pretty much almost all the work. Like Miles Sanders was getting on the field some, but he didn't have that significant of a role until Jordan Howard got hurt, and I believe that was in week 8. So if we look at weeks 9 through 16 when Jordan Howard was hurt, and even he actually was healthy down the stretch too, but the Eagles just saw how talented and how much better they were as a team with Miles Sanders on the field. So they decided to just completely keep Jordan Howard out, and they kind of learned their lessons for not being able to put Miles Sanders on the field at the beginning of the year. So anyway, we look at weeks 9 through 16, and Miles Sanders was the running back 8 overall in points per game. Now, I mean, this is significant. Miles Sanders was a second-round NFL draft pick, and he was a rookie, a 22-year-old rookie in that, while he was doing this. So it just kind of speaks to the talent that Miles Sanders is, especially considering that the Eagles offense wasn't anything special in 2019. We saw that they had no passing weapons, and they had a real hard time moving the ball just because of that. They had Alshon Jeffrey hurt most of the year, Deshaun Jackson hurt most of the year, J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, while he was a second-round pick, and I kind of liked him going into last year, he couldn't even get on the field. I mean, he was just such a raw prospect. So the hope with this team is that they improve the offense, they invest in weapons, and like I said in a couple videos ago, maybe this is a team we see go out and get an Amari Cooper. Maybe we see them go out and get a Robbie Anderson, significantly invest in the offense, and if that happens and this offense becomes just more efficient and scores the ball, I mean just scores more points in 2020, I think Miles Sanders can easily be a running back 1 in this offense. And in Dynasty, him going into his second year with not that many touches on his body, that's extremely valuable. Okay, now let's kind of get into Josh Jacobs, just the overall profile. And Josh Jacobs, I actually had him as my running back 1 after the NFL draft. He was my running back 2 before the NFL draft. But that mainly came with his first round NFL draft pedigree. It's kind of hard to overlook that and put Miles Sanders ahead of him when Miles Sanders was a late second-round NFL draft pick. I'm not going to do that with running backs. I'm going to take the first-round draft pick every single time, not necessarily because I think that they may be the more talented player, which, I mean, it is a significant indicator that they most likely are, but it's more about the team is going to be willing and is kind of going to feel the need to give them the ball and give them the opportunity year 1, which we saw happen with Josh Jacobs. He was the starting running back. He was the workhorse running back day 1, week 1 in Oakland. And now the thing with him is, in 2019, he was kind of disappointing in the passing game. But if we look at his draft profile and what everyone, not only on ESPN, but everyone Pro Football Focus, on Fantasy Pros, everyone, they said that his strength came in catching the football. They said he was a pass catcher. I remember seeing comps to Alvin Kamara. That's who they compared Josh Jacobs to. And I know it may just be the tape down the back of the arms. I know it just may be just seeing him on the field and having that bias. But you can't overlook the fact that he can catch the ball. So I don't think what we saw him do in year 1 was his ceiling. And the thing about Josh Jacobs is he actually has a higher BMI. His BMI is high enough for him to be that workhorse running back. And if he can put it all together and just take a step forward in the passing game in Las Vegas this year, I mean, they're switching cities, new attitude. So if he can take that step forward and take that development like what we saw from him at Alabama in the passing game, what's stopping him from being a top 5 NFL running back? The Raiders, while they may not be a great offense, they have a fantastic offensive line. And nobody really talks about it, but if you looked how the Oakland Raiders last offseason graded out in terms of offensive line play and offensive line talent, they were, I think, top 5. I don't want to say top 5 for certain, but they were definitely among the elite teams when it comes to run blocking. And if anything, they should just get better and healthier going into year 2. So Josh Jacobs, I mean, he's just set up for a smash spot. And right now, I believe we actually have a small buy window, especially like a week ago, because this is the main thing that made me want to make this video. Everyone is out here talking about how they bring back Jalen Richard, and they see that as a massive, like, just lower Josh Jacobs' ceiling by a large margin. While I think that them bringing back Jalen Richard is not really that significant. I know it may be hot takey. I know Jalen Richard is a great pass catcher. I've had Jalen Richard on a lot of fantasy teams over the past 3 years. But if you look at it, they have nobody else there. They have to bring in someone, whether they're going to stick him in that same role or not. They just have to have the depth, and who better to bring than someone who they know what they're getting from, and they can just kind of plug them into the system that's already in place. So I don't necessarily see Jalen Richard as a significant, pest. I don't know what you want to say to Josh Jacobs. I see him more as just a backup type role player, and I think that Josh Jacobs still has the ability to take a massive step forward in the passing game going into 2020, just because what we saw him do at Alabama. So let me put a official stamp on what I think these guys' values are and where I am taking them in startup drafts. And both of these guys, it's going to kind of sound bold, but I'm taking them both in the early second round of my startup drafts. I mean, if I want to go running back in this spot, I am far more confident taking either one of these running backs over a Leonard Fournette. And y'all know I love Leonard Fournette. I have Leonard Fournette on almost every single Dynasty team because last offseason he was a third, fourth round startup pick, and I thought that was an insane value. But I'm willing to take both of these running backs over Leonard Fournette, over Aaron Jones. I don't think the Aaron Jones thing should be hot takey. I know a lot of people will have Aaron Jones over both of these running backs just because of Aaron Jones' 2019 production, but I've said it once, I'll say it again. Y'all aren't going to want to hear it. Y'all are not going to like it. But Aaron Jones is a committee running back. I mean, it sounds bad. I don't think he has to be a committee running back. I think he has the talent to be a workhorse. But if you look how not only Mike McCarthy used him and Jamal Williams pretty much in a 50-50 split. And we look at what happened in 2020 without Mike McCarthy, the same exact thing. The only thing is nobody wants to talk about it because Aaron Jones had an insane amount of touchdowns in 2019. So it just completely covered up the fact that he wasn't on the field as much as these other running backs. At the same time, I believe Aaron Jones was in the 2017 NFL draft. So he's coming to the end of his rookie contract, and I want running backs at the beginning of their rookie contract. And I feel like that's the most valuable asset you can have in Dynasty football, where Aaron Jones doesn't really provide that anymore. And then lastly, this is also going to sound kind of ridiculous to some of y'all, but if you just play the long game, and by long game, I don't even mean out to like 2022. I'm talking about just if you look at where their values will be next year. I'm taking both Josh Jacobs and Miles Sanders over Derrick Henry, especially with the uncertainty around Derrick Henry's situation. Maybe if we are locked into him going back to Tennessee where they're going to use him, just funnel their offense through him with the league's best offensive line, then I could confidently say that I would most likely have Derrick Henry right around the same value. I mean, it would be a coin flip for me, whoever I want. It's just that with Derrick Henry, you know the touches he's had throughout his career. And like I said with Aaron Jones, I mean, I don't want running backs at the end of their rookie contracts. Derrick Henry is about to go to his second contract, and we see what happens with these running backs that, I mean, it's just the modern NFL. The running backs can't last that long. As soon as they lose some juice, even though Derrick Henry looked like he may have been the best running back in the league in 2019, obviously the rushing title. And I'm saying this right now, I had Derrick Henry on, I think 2 or 3 of my 8 Dynasty teams. So I thought Derrick Henry was a fantastic price. It's nothing I have against Derrick Henry. It's just that I would much rather have one of these 2 running backs at the beginning of their rookie contract than Derrick Henry going into his second contract. So in the video, I'm going to say that I would have Josh Jacobs ranked ahead of Miles Sanders. I hear a couple podcasters saying that Miles Sanders should be ranked ahead of Josh Jacobs due to their pass catching ability. But like I kind of explained with the Josh Jacobs profile, what we liked about him coming out of college was his ability to catch the ball. I don't think he's really lost that ability from his senior year in Alabama or junior year. I forgot whenever he came out to the NFL. I think that he was just eased into the offense. They didn't want him to take too much on at once. And I think that going into year 2, we can see a significant upgrade in Josh Jacobs' passing game usage. But as always, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Like the video if you enjoyed it and you felt like this maybe can help you make a trade, maybe help you in startups this offseason. But thanks so much, guys. Have a great day.